Hello and welcome to Access Paranormal. Tonight I'm in a room on my own here at the barracks. There's a group in, so I just thought the room I'm in is haunted. It's a room that I've had a couple of experiences in myself, so I just thought while I'm here, while I'm sitting around, I might as well give it a half an hour call out and see what happens. Now, just a little bit of a thing that's happened to me in this room is there's been a time when the door handle in the storeroom rattled, and also something came in from the balcony through the door and into the room. I felt it. I was on my own again that time, just relaxing, and then I heard a couple of people downstairs. Went down to them. That was just a couple of minutes later, and they asked me, does anybody see a figure on the balcony? And I said, well, yeah, it's been there quite often. A few people have seen it. And he said, well, we've just seen one then walk along the balcony and turn into the room at the door on the far right there, which is the room I'm in now. And they seen it at virtually the same time as I felt something come in the room. They saw it. I felt it. Also in this room, like I've just said then, that there's a door into a storeroom. And I've been in here and I've heard that handle rattle a couple of times. When you're on your own, it's not a nice feeling. You always get a bit on edge, but hey ho, that's what we're doing. So anyway, what I'm going to be doing for the next 15-20 minutes, possibly a bit more, who knows, it's just to see if we can get some activity. Don't know whether we will or we won't, I don't know. So I'm just walking around. I've got the light on at the moment. But what I'm going to do, so you can hear it, turn it off. Now I'm in darkness. Feels strange, feels unusual, because obviously I've been sitting here with the light on, and I'm sitting here in the total darkness. And once I've done this, there's also on the show tonight, there's going to be Lynn Murphy with a connection to Wales, and she'll be talking about the Nun. There'll be a proper title for it on the poster, because I haven't got the information in front of me at the moment. I can't exactly tell you exactly what it was. But Lynn's there back with a Welsh Connection, which is I think it's a third show now, and they're absolutely brilliant. I love them. So straight after this, we'll have Lynn's little Welsh Connection. So let me do a little bit of a call out now and see if anything happens. Hopefully it won't. Hopefully it will for you, but I'm on the opposite. I'm saying it won't. So if there's anybody here with me now, anyone who can hear me or see me, would you like to come forward and say hello? Could you rattle handle on the door? Can you move something? Can you talk into this, what I've got in my hand, please? You don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be nervous. You can come forward if you want. I'm not here to harm you. My name's Jamie. Can you talk to me? No, I probably will talk as I'm going along anyway. We've got some good interviews coming up soon as well. From across the pond over there in America. That's just being organised at the moment. We've also got a few others who have been on recently, well, not recently, who've been on the show before. They'll be coming up, just arranging them, so it's going to be good ones, some good ones there. And hello? Thought I heard something then, but don't know. Also, there's my paranormal logbook out on Amazon. It's only £10, and you can log up to 50 investigations in the logbook. It's got stuff like the weather forecast. You can put what items you've used. You can put the moon phases. You can even, there's a little comment at the bottom where you can debunk. There's some advice at the back when you're doing paranormal investigations. There's also some protections at the back, what you can read out if you want to. It's all there. I've done what I can for everybody by listening to people. But it's on Amazon now if you look for Jamie Michael Williams. And it's called the Paranormal Investigation Logbook. And, sorry, do you know what? I can never remember what it's called, and I made it. Hello, if there's somebody here now, can you come forward? It's the second time I've heard that sound. Can you do it again? Can you come forward again, please? Come and talk to me. Can you move something in the room? Can you talk? Can you do something? Show me your hair, please. I don't mean you any harm. Come on, come and talk to me. Can you copy me? I know sometimes that you're in this room. If you're in here now, can you do something to show me your hair, please? Come on, come forward, come and show us your hair. Who's knocking then? What was that noise then? Can you do it again, please? I just felt like little bumps. I know there's a paranormal group in here, and I know that they're in the far end towards the main cell at the very other end of the building. So I don't think it's them. Don't know whether it's windy outside or not, because where I'm based now you can't tell. Well, there is a window. Let me just have a look out the window, see if there's any wind out there or not. This is the part right near the door which I'm a bit... No, it's quite calm outside. There's no rain. Seems very calm, so... If there's anybody here with me now, can you come forward, please? Can you move something? Were you based up here when it was when it wasn't a room? Did you come up and stand up here on the balcony, peering over? I think the bumping I can hear is I think it's people. I just heard a couple of bangs then. I'm just trying to work out where they were from, but I don't think it's paranormal, to be honest with you. It's too consistent. Right, I can hear the group now talking. They must be moving rooms. There we go. So that's the group moving around now, so they must be going either on a break or moving rooms. So if you hear any voice in the background, it's not EVP. But as I was saying a little bit earlier, about 5 minutes ago or so now, I have got the book out on Amazon. Paranormal Investigations, Logbook and Notes. So if you want to go along there, just type in Jamie Michael Williams and you'll find it. It's only £10. Well worth getting. I'd say that anyway, wouldn't I, being mine? But it's well worth getting if you're interested in logging down everything on your investigations and keeping record. It's brilliant, and I've tried to do it where if you use one up, you can get another one and keep a record in dates, because at the front of it you can put the date you started the logbook in and the date that logbook finishes. So try to do it so it's like a consistency for you. So go and have a look anyway, see what you think. If you like it, please buy it. I'd appreciate it if you did. And if you do buy it, I really hope that you enjoy using it. Anyway, they're starting to walk back across the hallway, as you can hear. So I'm just waiting for them to quieten down again, and I'll start calling out again. But in the meantime, we went over to Tunisia and had a week in Tunisia, and we found a derelict building over there. And even though we were on holiday, just trying to have a break, shut down from everything, it's too irresistible, isn't it, to go and not go and have a look. So that's what I did, and had a look around. But it was pretty interesting, really. I don't know how long it was empty for. Did have a little go calling out and seeing if there was anything in there. It was evening. It was like really nice evening. Very dark. The only light coming in was from the moon. And to be honest with you, it was interesting. We didn't get nothing paranormal, but to be in another country doing it, in a place called Hammamet, just on the beach there, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Sadly, I didn't take my recorder or anything like that, because I didn't think I was going to be doing anything like that. But we got talking to some people, and they were interested in the paranormal as well, and they said we should be doing this, we should be doing that over there. But you know, getting around that country is quite vast, and we were advised at one stage to in the evenings is to stay in the hotel. So going out doing paranormal in Tunisia was a big no for me anyway. But what a fantastic country it is! Beautiful beaches. The people we met were absolutely amazing, and it's just a shame we couldn't, got on there. We actually visited a graveyard, a Christian graveyard in a Muslim country. It was, they were telling us all about it in the hotel. So we went over to the graveyard. We had to walk down, and it was only a short distance, so it was easy to take me time and get over there. And when we got over there, the graveyard was absolutely huge. I mean, huge. We started walking around it, and we were debating then whether to get my phone out and do a little mini invest. But to be honest with you, I felt uncomfortable doing it there. One, there was people in the graveyard at the time we were there. And two, I don't know how the people would have reacted if we were doing a paranormal investigation or calling out. And three, I can't speak Islamic. And I thought to myself, should we get the spirit box out? Spirit talker out on the phone, and see if we pick any voices up. And let's see how the spirit talker works. Would it come through in another language? Islamic? Who knows? Tunisian? Or as they are over there, there's a lot of French people over there. Would it do?
If you'd like to join our Facebook community, why not search for Access Paranormal Radio Podcast? There's always something very spooky going on the Access Paranormal Facebook page.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to go to an advert because, as usual, well, I'm not saying as usual, last time we were doing an investigation, the audio went off. Exactly the same thing has happened as I was chatting away there. So, don't know what happened, don't know how it happened. Full batteries in it, and it's totally dead. Right in the middle of an investigation again. So I had to do the same as last time. I put an advert in. And the strange thing is, we were in the same location when it happened. So whether it's energy there, I don't know. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try calling out again for another 10 minutes. And then we'll cross over to Lynn Murphy and the Welsh Connection. So I'm going to say if there's anybody here with us now, if you can, and you're willing to do so, please come forward. Come and tell us you're here. I'm not here to do you any harm. Can you talk to us? Can you move something in the room, please? Promise you I'm not here to do you any harm or any disrespect to you. I'm on my own. So if you can and you're willing to do so, just come and talk to me. I don't mind one bit. If you can open the door or come into the room, that's absolutely fine with me. I'm feeling quite brave, to be honest with you, because I know there's a group down there, so I'll be quite happy to sit here on my own for a little bit. I'm going to ask if there's somebody here now. Can you move something? Can you copy me? Can you do that for me, please? As you can hear, there is a group behind me. No, the whistle, what you just heard, is not paranormal. The group have just done the same as me and whistled. So, that is not paranormal. They've coincidentally have done it at the same time as I'd done it. So it's not a reply to when I whistled. So I think they just had some kind of paranormal activity down there. As you can probably hear, they all I'd love to listen into what they're doing because it'd be very interesting to hear what they're doing. Let's just see if I can tap into their investigation. They must have got whistles after me because they are picking up whistles. I might go near the door to see if I can record what they're doing. I don't want to frighten them, no. I'm hoping that there's something over the glass, which there is. So let's see if I can pick up some of their recording of their investigation. Are you ready? So as you can see, there's a group in, and it seems to me like they're getting some kind of activity with whistling in the main hall there, which is fantastic. Let's give it a couple more minutes here, and I'll call out while they're doing their stuff down there. Just thought we'd tap into them and have a listen to what they were doing. Seems like they're having a good bit of activity around the building, which is fantastic. So, if there's anybody here with me now, if you can, and you're willing to do so, please come forward. Don't mean you any harm. My name's Jamie. Could you tell me your name, please? They're still getting activity down there. Let's give one more call here, and then I'm going to send you over to Lynn. So if there's anybody here with me now, anyone who can hear me, who can see me, if you're willing to do so, could you come forward, please? Come and show me you're here. I don't mean you any harm. I've been here for many, many, many years now. So you should know me, and you should know that I'm not going to, I'm not here to cause you any problems at all. So if you can and you're willing to do so, can you do something to show me that you can hear me or see me? No. The group are moving around again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you over to Lynn Murphy over there in Connors Quay, and she's going to tell you her Welsh Connection ghost stories. So Lynn, take it away.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Welsh Connection with Lynn Murphy. Now I'm going to tell you the story of Nora the Nun. And for people who don't know or have never heard of the story of Nora the Nun at Wepper Park in Flintshire, Nora the Nun is said to haunt the woods at Wepper Park. The local people know very well of the stories passed down through the generations. All the stories differ, so nobody is quite sure of which one may be true. I have been investigating this fable and story for many years now, and I want to share this story with you. Some people say Nora lived in the woods. She became pregnant, had the baby, washed the baby in the local pond that we know as the Rosie. The baby slipped into the Rosie, drowned, and then Nora the Nun killed herself in remorse. Some say she is buried on the island in the Rosie. Some people say that she threw herself off the waterfall, and you can still see her walking around that area to this very day. Some people say she found a newborn baby in the woods, washed it in the stream. The baby slipped out of her arms into the stream. She couldn't save the baby from drowning. Nora was so full of remorse, she threw herself off the Red Rock, down an 80-foot ravine, and died. There are lots of versions of this story which have been passed down, but which one is likely to be nearer the truth? I also have my own beliefs of what happened to Nora and the baby. I believe it did happen, and there is no smoke without fire, as you well know. I came upon some very interesting information a few years back that has had me searching for more information as to the truth of this woman and baby. There is or was a website for the BBC which is called Ask a Local and General Knowledge. The one I was searching for was the North East Wales one. On this site, people wrote in and told their own stories about what they have experienced at Wepper Park and Newlow Castle. One gentleman particularly caught my attention when he wrote in to tell about his family's legend. His name is Michael Lawton, and he lived in Lowestoft, England. A distant relative of his either down the Lewis or the Lloyd side of the family. They were from Brittany, France. The lady in this family was to have an arranged marriage. She did not like the chosen future husband, so she stowed away on board one of her brother's fishing boats. When they had gone to sea, she was found, and her brother gave in to her wishes to not return her to France. They dropped her off in Connors Quay docks, and she became a chambermaid at Wepper Hall. She apparently had a child by the then owner and master of the hall. Michael's family do not know whether this legend is in fact true. Research by the family has so far not been revealed. This information that Michael Lawton had wrote about has now opened up a whole new outlook on the Nora the Nun story. I searched for Michael for several years and I actually found him in the end, and we had a conversation about it. Lovely guy. He was from Canada, but he was living in England at this time, and he gave me a lot of information about his family. But getting back to this young girl, if this young French girl was pregnant by the master of the house, then she wouldn't be in a position to say anything about it. Imagine, if you can, a 17-year-old who can't speak much English get abused by a very powerful gentleman who owned the property and the land. If she would have owned up to being pregnant, she would have been put into a mental asylum for the rest of her life. The baby would have been taken from her and adopted or even sold. That is what used to happen to single mums in the 1800s. Even in the 1900s it was still going on. If that didn't happen, she may have been thrown out of a job, a home and her secret haven from her family. I believe she kept this pregnancy hidden, which wouldn't be too hard to do, given the big dresses that she would have had to have worn. She would have gone into the woods, out of the way, to give birth to the baby. I believe she left the baby in the woods and went back to the hall. People who have written into the BBC North East Wales site have talked about when they were kids at Wepper Park. The Nun's house, which was up by the old golf course as we now know it. Different people have all placed that house in the same place. Apparently, they tell of a big storm that washed the building away down a ravine. I believe this is where the nuns lived, but they were also nurses. Could it be possible for Nora to have heard the cries of this young girl in labour, then heard the cries of a baby which had been left? It seems more feasible to the truth as to what really happened in this fable. Nora went looking and found the baby. It seems she took the baby to the stream, cleaned it up. The baby slipped out of her hands and drowned. Nora was so full of remorse for the loss of this precious baby, she could not live with herself. I also believe that she threw herself off Red Rock into the ravine below. Red Rock is just around the corner from where the nun's house was actually situated. Nora was buried in unconsecrated ground at the top of the golf course in a back field. It was unconsecrated because she committed the sin of suicide. The grave was later moved into the woods by a place called Devil's Basin. This would have been done when the new houses were being built up at top of Wepper Lane. There were also 2 other nuns buried near to her later in time. They had small upright gravestones. Nora had a flat gravestone. The stones had gone now, probably destroyed by thugs messing about in the area, probably being thrown into the stream by Devil's Basin. I believe the other 2 nuns were killed. Rumour of people saying that the 2 nuns got pregnant by soldiers who were visiting the hall. Not sure of the date though on that one. I also believe the 2 skeletons were found buried behind the walls in the hall are that of the two nuns. The skulls of these skeletons had big holes in the back of their heads, indicating that they may have died by being hit in the head by something very heavy. Can you imagine hearing of a nun who gets pregnant by soldiers? It's just unheard of, isn't it? And would have been an embarrassment to the family who actually lived at the hall. So it was all hushed up to save any upsets. Are these the spirits of nuns that are seen roaming around the woods at Wepper Park at night time? After researching the nuns who worked at the hall, I believe I may have come up with the real name of Nora, but I am still not 100% certain, but I still have a little more research to do to prove this. I have found a Jane Walker. She was born in Ripley, Derbyshire in 1870. She is shown in the 1891 census for Wepper Hall Estate. At this time she was 31 years old, a trained nurse, and she was single. Hopefully further research will find the truth. I sometimes get messages from Spirit World and they tell me how they were feeling when they actually died. And it gives an indication to how they died and of what. When I was researching to find the two nuns buried in that area, which was with Nora, I had an overwhelming feeling of pain at the back of my head, like being hit. It felt like I was being hit with the butt of a gun. It was horrendous, awful feeling, and the pain felt real. I also had an overwhelming feeling of despair and unhappiness. But then it was serenity. Were these feelings being given to me by the spirit of these nuns? Probably, but I'm still researching for proof and the answers. I've been given a photocopy of a letter written by a lady called Cynthia Lloyd, who in 1994 was living in Kings Island, Tasmania. It is named Recollections of Lives in Wepper Hall, Connors Quay. It reads, "In return, I had to sit and set the tea tray to make sure the kettle was boiled by 4 p.m. Major Frem had 2 drivers, one named Lettice Smith. She was Judge Smith's daughter from Mould. The other was Anne Summers from the Summers family of steelmakers. She was my favourite, but Lettice was very nice too. They both used to help wash up on a Sunday lunch dishes, but Lettice hated putting her hands in the water. I must tell you this, my dad was tickled pink when he heard about Lettice helping with the washing up. When he was a little lad in Mould, his father, Lewis Evan Lloyd, whom I have mentioned before, was friendly with Judge Smith, and they used to visit and be invited, etc. Now poor Dad was in the gardener's cottage, but Lettice was doing the washing up. One Saturday morning I was met at the door by Mrs. Bennett. She was once again distraught. Major Frem had not returned from nighttime manoeuvres on the Sealand marshes. Cynthia was the sister of Henry Lloyd. "Build up the fire, Cynthia," she said, which I did. Poor old lady, she absolutely worshipped the ground he walked on. A short time later, he walked in and flopped into the chair by the fire in the kitchen. I was there at the time. "You very wet, Major Frem," I said. He was half asleep in the chair and he roused himself and pulled off his long knee-length boots. "Yes, I'm very cold and very tired, Cynthia," he said. He left the kitchen and went upstairs, and that was the last I ever saw of him. He never left his bed and died of pneumonia some weeks later. It was just about this time that the huge elm tree in front of Wepper Hall was struck by lightning and fell to the ground. My dad went over to tell them they were very upset. Apparently the fall of an elm tree denotes a death in the family, and the very least, in this case, it denoted not only the death of the owner, but the end of the estate itself. The end, it would seem, of its entire meaning, unless someone takes some serious trouble about it, and that someone is you, George. Mr. Frem had one married sister called Yvonne Ashburner. She was married to Colonel Ashburner. His name was Geoffrey. They had no children. Perhaps there were distant relatives, cousins, and so on, but if so, I've never heard of them. If there were, they may be able to tell you some of the mysteries connected to that house. I have a feeling that Mrs. Bennet told me that Mrs. Ashburner had documents which were very old. I spent a lot of time with Mrs. Bennet after Mr. Frem died. She was afraid to be alone at night, and so I stayed with her for quite a few years. She told me that Yvonne had seen a ghost of a nun when she was a young girl. She had been to the hall to visit her grandfather, who was very ill. It was dusk on a summer evening, and when she came to open the long heavy metal gate at the end of the drive, she saw a nun coming behind her down the drive from the hall. She thought that the nun had been visiting the house and naturally stayed and held the gate open for her. But the nun, looking neither to the left nor to the right, went straight through the metal gate and vanished. My Uncle Jack, who was also a very sensible sort of fellow, saw it too in the same place. It was Christmas Eve, and he had been up to visit us with presents for us children. When he was going home, he was just near the gate when he saw a figure approaching. There was only one other house there, the bungalow, and no one living in the hall at that time. So this is the story of Nora the Nun, who haunts Wepper Woods. She's still there to this day, and people have reported seeing her for decades. I hope you enjoyed this story. So until next time, goodbye.
So that was Lynn Murphy and Welsh Connection with Nora the Nun there from Wepper Park. And before we go across to some Jack-o'-lantern short stories, don't forget you can go on Amazon. Now, I did mention this at the beginning of the show when I was over in Mill Street Barracks, and I couldn't remember the name of the book. I know I wrote it, I know I did all that, but I couldn't remember the name of it. So if you go onto Amazon, it's only £10, and it's called The Paranormal Investigation Logbook and Journal. And it's a book which I've done for anyone who's doing paranormal investigations and you want to write down their reports. And it's got inside it, you can put the name, location, witness, date, report date, equipment used, you've got the weather and temperature, you've got moon phases, you've got the next page which is the full report and evidence, along with the debunked report. So that's all in there, and you've got, I think it's 50, you can fit 50 paranormal investigations in there, all the reports. Then if you go to the back of it, I'm doing this quite quickly because I've got it in front of me, so I can whip them off for you. And at the back you've got the investigation time log, where you can put the time, photo, the time of the video, audio, and anything else, along with a description. After that you've got a page with useful information when out and about, protection checklist for paranormal investigations, a little bit of information about advice when you're on an investigation. You got the prayer of protection and healing when confronted with evil. If you're not sure of the spirit encounter, prayer for safety, and a prayer to clean the room of negativity, energy, or residue energy. Also, it's got my little bit of an advert for Access Paranormal for the website, the radio, and the podcast, along with my email address. So if anybody wants that, it's on Amazon. Just look for Jamie Michael Williams and the Paranormal Investigation Logbook and Journal, and you'll find it on there for just £10. So if anybody does buy it, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it becomes part of your investigations wherever you may go. Anyway, From that to this, and this is Jack-o'-lantern and his short stories. I really hope you enjoy them.
In 1612, Pendle Hill was the site of Britain's most infamous witch trial, in which 12 people were accused of witchcraft. But how did this tale of horror unfold? Well, let me take you back to 17th century Lancashire, said to be a place of wild and lawless people. Our dark tale begins when a young local woman named Alison Device came across a peddler named John Law. The girl asked him for some pins, which he refused. Frustrated, Alison cursed him under her breath, but to her astonishment, the witchery appeared to work. John collapsed and his face became drooped, which we would modernly recognise as symptoms of a stroke. Later, taking refuge, he blamed his illness on Alison and her evil powers. The incident was brought before Judge Knoll, and young Alison was questioned, admitting that she had called upon the devil, whom appeared in the form of a black dog with red eyes. But her confessions continued, incriminating her own grandmother, Old Demdike, and the nearby Chattox family, which is believed to be an act of revenge after years of feuding between the families. In fact, years before, Alison's own father had blamed his imminent death on Old Chattox, matriarch of their family, claiming she had bewitched him. A further 4 historic deaths in the village were also blamed on Chattox, along with marks on the body of her daughter, which the devil apparently sucked blood from. These stories resulted in 4 arrests, but then the witches were said to have gathered together at a Black Sabbath at a small cottage nearby, where they planned their evil doings. Known as Malkin Tower, a sheep was stolen for the feast, and when word reached the judge, he investigated, ultimately arresting a further 8 people. Now, a much darker case of witchcraft was being painted, all with the evidence provided by Alison's own sister, 9-year-old Jeanette Device. She was taken into care and likely groomed by authorities into incriminating her entire family, and was even permitted by King James to give evidence in court while her own mother watched on. The infamous trials were held at Lancaster Castle in August 1612. Sadly, Old Demdike died in her dark dungeon, awaiting her fate. To the astonishment of everyone present, young Jeanette began accusing her mother, sister, brother, and all of those present at Malkin Tower of witchcraft. She sealed their deaths. Her mother, Elizabeth Device, was removed from the court screaming at her daughter to stop these lies. Meanwhile, the initial instigator to this story, Alison, confessed through tears when the peddler entered the court to give his testimony. She begged for forgiveness. In total, only 1 of the 12 was found not guilty, and the other survivors of the dungeons were hung. Paranormal activity is now reported throughout Pendle Hill, people claiming to see the ghostly witches. Let me take you 6 kilometres under the hills of North Yorkshire as we explore the haunting legends of White Scar Cave. First discovered in 1923, the dark labyrinth of caverns is now open to the public, so its legends can be uncovered. The most famous being the witch, whom was once said to have lurked inside. Some say the legend started simply from a geological formation I'll show you in just a moment. However, others report an eerie atmosphere in the air and a strange cackle in the darkness. Could it be simply a coincidence that the formations replicate witches' fingers, and even a section in the rocks look like that of a witch's face? Interestingly, it is this area where the phantom cackling is known to be heard. Now, we were lucky enough to get taken into these tunnels on our own, so I could tell you its haunting legends. However, you too can take a tour down here. And this brings me to the second creepy attraction within inside the caves, the Devil's Tongue. Now, if you're the superstitious kind, it is said, should water from the Devil's Tongue drip upon you, you will be cursed. So perhaps a good idea to have the Holy Bible in your pocket whilst exploring these caves, eh? And this is no leisurely stroll. You will go half a mile into the caves, and if you're feeling very brave, you can actually take a nighttime tour in which all the lights will be turned out. All you'll get is a hard hat and a torch to light your way. The idea of this conjures up fear from the legends all the more, doesn't it? Can you imagine going through these dark, narrow passages in the dead of night with legends of a witch in your head? And it is not only the witch-like geological formations and phantom cackling that people report from down here. Some actually see some rather strange things. The dark figure of a woman is sometimes seen peeping around the corners in which you would find the devil's tongue. In the past, this apparition has been that convincing, staff have believed it was a missing member of a tour group and gone into the caves to locate them. However, despite a thorough search, nobody can be found. This is a truly phenomenal place to go and visit. As you walk the entire length of the caves, there is a river gushing under your feet that you can see beneath the bars. It does make you feel slightly uneasy. Just imagine if that gave way. Well, maybe don't imagine it. After your long walk, you can calm your nerves by getting a coffee and something to eat in the cafe with a splendid view. Tonight I bring you a spooky special from the tour guide at Haunted Howarth. Here are some of his best stories from the very haunted graveyard.
So, welcome to Howarth Graveyard, or as I like to call it, the dead centre of Haworth. Sorry, that's my last dad joke. And I mean, I do love this graveyard. I think it's hugely atmospheric. I love the fact it's always a little bit overgrown and scrappy. And I always get told stories about people's experiences here, obviously, because of what I do. There's a classic story that's been told for a long time of a woman who was apparently walking through the graveyard one evening. It was getting dark, and she suddenly realised that she was being followed by a man dressed in period costume. I claim no responsibility for that, by the way. It was actually nothing to do with me. But it did unnerve her a little bit, so she decided she was going to have a word. And so she turned around to speak to the man, and he stood some distance away, probably the distant length of this path. But he wasn't looking at her, he was gazing up into the sky, half a smile on his face, and she lost her nerve. So she turned around. But as she was turning around, she thought, no, I deserve to have my say. And she turned back round. And he was nowhere to be seen. There was nowhere within reach that he could have run to in order to hide behind in the time it had taken her to turn away and turn back. He had simply vanished off the face of the earth. Now, I mentioned St Mark's Eve earlier. We're all familiar with those times of year where the veil between this world and the other world is said to be thinner than at other times.
Yeah.
Where the dead are more readily able to cross over.
Yeah.
So obviously we have coming up fairly soon, as you know, the whole of September, as we know, is Halloween's Eve. So we have Halloween coming up fairly soon.
It's a season, not a day.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And then there's obviously midwinter. So the midwinter solstice itself, and in that period of 3 days, I think, between the 21st, the solstice, and the 24th, kind of one of the reasons that we'll tell ghost stories around the Christmas fire. But a third time of year, which has largely fallen out of observation these days, is St Mark's Eve, or April the 24th. And St Mark's Eve used to be observed mainly throughout the north of England. And a couple of hundred years ago, it would have been observed by a vigil tradition. So you would have fasted throughout the day. And so no food, no water. Come 11 o'clock, you would come in the evening, you would take your position outside here, outside the porch of the church. And you would hold silent vigil for 2 hours, at the end of which you could expect to see a parade of spirits making their way past you into the church. But these would not be spirits of the dead, as you might normally expect to see them. These would be spirits of those who were to die in the year to come. Yeah. So woe betide you if you saw yourself in amongst this ghastly parade, making your way
I didn't see it.
But we can call it a ghastly parade for another very specific reason, because not only would these be the spirits of the dead who were to die in the year to come, but they would appear in the manner in which they were going to die. So if they had been run over by a horse and cart, every bone in their body twisted, broken and mangled, they'd be dragging this bleeding mess in with them. If they died in a knife fight and their guts had been slashed open, I don't know whether your guts ever do get slashed open in a knife fight, but if that was the case, their bleeding entrails hanging out, they'd be dragging these bleeding entrails in through the porch.
So it'd be a foresight to how you'd pass.
Oh,
as well.
yes. If you had kissed the hangman's daughter, if you had hung on the gallows, you would be walking in with your neck broken and your head hanging loose, swinging from your shoulders.
Oh, wow.
I always suspected you would get the less scrupulous member of the community willing to claim that they'd spent a cold, wet night in vigil outside the porch of the church in return for pennies to cross the palms of their hand for the names of those they claimed to have seen.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, somewhere like Haworth, it would have been pretty easy to pull a few names out of a hat of people who were going to shuffle off their mortal coil sometime over the next few months. So, and actually, St Mark's Eve, not last year, but the year before that and the year before that, fell on tour dates for me. It was between lockdowns, and I was able to run with kind of coordinated bubbles and what have you. I had fairly large groups on both occasions. I did suggest to people they might like to come and meet me here later that evening at 11 o'clock. On both occasions, I had 0 takers.
The walled-in medieval city of Chester is home to buildings dating from the Roman, Tudor and Victorian periods. With this history comes its share of ghostly residents. The wall surrounding the city itself is notoriously haunted by the ghost of a Roman soldier. It is said he fell in love with a local Celtic girl and frequently left his post to meet her. However, her parents took advantage of this situation. One night, when he left to meet their daughter, they killed the guards and snatched as much loot as they could. Upon return, his fellow men left alive murdered him in anger. Now, he remains guarding his post that was neglected in life. A few streets away stands Stanley Place, a Grade 2 listed property, previously having been a boys' school, museum and apartments. The building is said to be full of ghosts wandering its corridors, the most well-known being Elizabeth Warburton, a former owner. She is spotted regularly walking through solid walls. Another spirit of a grey-haired lady is seen sat at the piano playing a Tudor-era song before vanishing along with her music. Chester was also home to a number of witch trials in the 1650s. Presiding over these trials was a power-crazed judge who condemned around 32 people to execution, one being a local widow named Anne Thornton that was alleged to have consorted with the devil in the guise of a cat.
So that was Jack O'Lantern with his 4 stories. Thanks very much, Jack, for appreciate it that you let me share them stories on the show. Also, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Lynn Murphy for her Welsh Connection, which was fantastic, Nora the Nun. And we're coming to the end of the show now, and I hope that you enjoyed the little mini investor did down there in Mill Street Barracks, and also to Lynn and Jack O'Lantern. I've got to go now. I'll be back again next week. So from Access Paranormal, I'll see you then. Good night.